Hello AQA students, paper 1 and paper 2 are done, they're in the bag, they're finished off. Our attention now turns to paper 3. A massive opportunity is paper 3. If you look at recent exams, paper 3 usually is the highest scoring paper of the three. So regardless of how the first two papers have gone, if you've done great, fantastic, a chance for you to maintain that high performance in paper 3. But even if the first two papers haven't gone to plan, paper 3 is a massive opportunity to push that grade up seriously. An opportunity for full marks in paper 3 if you prepare well and if you're confident, ready to go to smash that paper. That's what this video is all about, to help you make those gains to really nail that final paper. I'll be giving you my major advice of how to prepare well for this quite unique paper, but also I'll be walking through the paper so that you know the time management, the structure of the paper, how to answer all the questions so that, by the end you finish on a high, your economics journey at A level at least comes to an end, you're buzzing, ready for that top grade on results day. So let's dive straight in. Key advice of how to prepare well for paper 3. First of all, pay no attention to any predictions. If there are predictions out there, just ignore them. Don't get into that psyche of worrying about predicting what might come up in paper 3 and what might not. Simply put, nobody knows. So if anyone is saying, here's my prediction, just ignore it. Nobody knows. Anything can come up in paper 3. But also, there is no need to worry about predictions because now you're going to have extracts to guide you for all your questions. Those extracts are going to be great. They should give you all the points that you need. Literally everything that you need will be in the extracts, but also to help you further, you've done your paper 1 and paper 2 by now. You've got good micro and macro knowledge. You're ready for anything that can come up in paper 3. It's not going to be something outside of your course. It's all going to be either micro or macro knowledge you already have. So don't worry about predictions whatsoever. Having said that though, what you can do is weigh up major topic areas that haven't been assessed as big essay questions in paper 1 and paper 2. That's a smart way to weigh up certain topic areas, but regardless, content mastery is the most important thing for paper 3. So your micro and macro notes you've already made for papers 1 and 2, make sure that's still taking over, going through the content there, making sure you're a master. Bear in mind, it's been a while since paper 2. It will be even longer by the time paper 3 comes along. So don't take any of that for granted. You still need to be a content master for paper 3. Go over that. That's a very important thing to bear in mind. Naturally, you want to be doing a lot of question practice, but you should prioritize practicing the unique elements for paper 3. That is doing a wide variety and a huge quantity of multiple choice questions, literally in the hundreds of multiple choice questions. You want to be planning lots of 10 markers, all the prior 10 markers that have come up, you want to be planning those. The 15 marker, even though it's the same style as paper 1 and paper 2, now it's going to be linked to extracts, so making sure you can use extracts to link and drive the points for your 15 marker, and of course the 25 marker where you need to bring in some micro and macro effects. You need to be ready to interchange with micro and macro, so being ready for that unique style of 25 marker. Very easy to do, lots of guidance there. You also of course want to make sure that you're as confident as you can be with the structure of the paper. You know what to expect from the paper. The walkthrough that's coming in a second is going to be great in that regard, but also my AQA exam technique playlist breaks down paper 3 into each question style and guides you exactly what you need to do for each question to score the highest marks. So go and watch those videos if you want more detail, but let's get into it. Let's walk through paper 3. Paper 3 is going to be broken into two sections, Section A and Section B. Section A will consist of 30 multiple choice questions, micro and macro. There'll be 15 micro questions, 15 macro questions, though they won't necessarily be ordered that way. But these guys are gifts from the economics gods. And whenever we're given these gifts, we should first be thankful. Thank you, gods, for giving us these wonderful questions. Why are they gifts? Because they're so easy. All of us here should be targeting full marks. They are that simple, but follow these tips when you're preparing for multiple choice questions. First of all, you have to be practicing them. All of the previous past paper multiple choice questions you should have done. But when you're revising them, when you're practicing them, make sure you're doing them per topic area. A block of multiple choice questions per topic area. Then you're seeing what the multiple choice questions are like for various topics. But also when you're doing the questions, don't just try and get the correct answer. Think about why it's the correct answer. Think about why other answers are wrong. That way you're building up your knowledge base, you're understanding multiple choice questions better, and you're seeing the style of multiple choice questions that AQA tend to go for. So practice is your best friend. To help you even more, I have a video on the channel called Key Equations and Conditions for Paper 3. It's carded above me. Make sure you've watched that video. Some of those conditions, some of those equations are going to be absolutely perfect for you in Paper 3 for some of the harder multiple choice questions that you can get. Go and check that video out. That's going to be great. But I'm also going to give you tips whereby even if you're struggling to get the correct answer, you don't necessarily know the correct answer, these are tips whereby you can still pick the correct answer. So here we go. Tip number 1, with all multiple choice questions, make sure you're highlighting exactly what the question is asking. Now this is great, especially for diagram questions, for chart questions, for table questions. Often the first few lines of those questions is just waffle describing what the diagram is showing, what the table is showing, what the chart is showing. But we have eyes, right? We have eyes. Gods have given us eyes, whereby we can see what the diagram is showing, what the table is showing, what the chart is showing. We don't need to waste our time reading waffle like that at the start. You guys hunt down what the question actually is asking for and highlight it. That way your brain is focused on what you actually need to be searching for in the answers. But also highlight key words so that you don't make silly errors, so that you know exactly what you need to be looking for in the answer. So start by doing that. Second, know how the 4 answers are written. Examiners, when they write answers to multiple choice questions, always follow this formula. First of all, there's always a distractor answer. That is an answer that seems like it could be correct, but actually is wrong. It's there to trap you. Examiners are horrible people, right? They put distractors in as one of the answers to try and fool you. So know that that exists. That's always going to be one of the 4 answers. Second, obviously, there's going to be a correct answer. That means that 2 answers are going to be clearly wrong. So if you're struggling to get the correct answer, naturally start by eliminating the 2 clearly wrong answers. You're then going to be left with the correct answer and the distractor. When it's a 50-50, you're more likely to get it correct, but hopefully then your economic skill kicks in and you're able to get the correct answer. Advice number 3 with multiple choice questions is scribble things down. Write down all the thoughts you have in your head just to ease the process to then get you the correct answer. There are so many questions, right? 30 of them. By kind of 15, 16 questions are done, your brain is going to be fading a little bit. You're going to get quite tired. So by allowing your brain to do too much, you're likely going to make sloppy errors, silly errors. Even though you know the correct answer, you're more likely to pick the incorrect answer. So help yourself out by scribbling stuff down. Maybe it's a chain of analysis. Maybe it's a little diagram sketch. Maybe it's an equation or a calculation you need to do. Maybe it's a definition. I don't know, whatever. It's going to help you just go through that process more simply instead of keeping it all in your brain. Put it down. Bear in mind that any white space in the exam paper you're free to write on. Your multiple choice questions will be marked by a computer, not by a human being. So any white space, scribble things down, make it easy for your brain to digest key information for then you to get the correct answer. That's so important. That's a great tip that I used. That's going to help you as well, just to avoid silly errors. Bear in mind for multiple choice questions, there is no evaluation necessary. It's a pure theory test. So whatever theory says, pick the correct answer accordingly. And last thing to bear in mind, very important advice here, is time management in multiple choice questions. The general advice is a minute a mark for the multiple choice. That's 30 minutes. I think that's far too long. I think the vast majority of multiple choice questions you're going to be doing in 30 seconds or less. A few of them, 5 seconds, they'll be that easy for you. A few of them might take longer, more than a minute, but they'll be rare. So overall, I'd say you're aiming for 20 to 25 minutes, 25 minutes max for the multiple choice questions. Because I think if you overthink on this multiple choice, you're more likely to make errors and pick wrong answers. So trust your content knowledge, trust your practice, be bullish, 20 to 25 minutes, be quick, and then move on, use the time gained for the essays in section B. That's big advice there. Be quick with your time management. Now let's talk about section B. Section B is going to consist of 3 essays, a 10 marker, a 15 marker, and a 25 marker. And all of those essays are going to be linked to extracts. Usually there'll be 2 written extracts at the start, just introducing the overall case study. You'll have an extract full of data, maybe charts, tables, or other illustrations, you'll then have normally 2 more written extracts. So my first piece of advice, guys, is don't read the extracts all at the start. Read them as you need them. It's worth reading the first couple to start with because they are an introduction. And then obviously the data that you see, the data extracts, will be relevant for the 10 marker. So for the 10 marker, the first 3 are good to go through, but then normally the one after the data is going to be for the 15 and then the final one for the 25. So read the extracts when you need them. In that way, your reading time for the extracts is within the essay time that you have. Now let's go into the questions themselves. The 10 marker first. The 10 marker is a unique question. You've not done one like this before, but it is a bit like the 4 marker you've done in paper 1 and paper 2, but beefed up. This 10 marker will say, to what extent does the data suggest something? So in that regard, this question is making you analyze, evaluate, and come to a final judgment from data. So you've done this a little bit in your 4 marker, haven't you? You need to now go further in this 10 marker. Here's the structure, here's what you need to do. So in this 10 marker, you want to start by defining key terms that are there in the question. There might be 1, there might be 2, there might be none, in which case don't worry about it. But if there are key terms, define them to start with. Then you're looking for 3 analysis paragraphs. And in each analysis paragraph, you're looking to do 3 things. First of all, identify a data reference from the extract that they've told you to refer to. So 1 unique data reference, you're doing that 3 times. For each data reference, you're then saying how. How does that data reference help you answer the question? Do that, and then think why. Why could that have happened? That'll be a nice little bit of extra for you to go into. That's very good economic theory as well. So for each analysis paragraph, a unique data reference, how and why, you're thinking that. So what could your data reference be? Well, it could be something as simple as identifying a high point and a low point in the data. It might mean identifying a start point and an end point if you're looking at a trend in the data. It might actually be manipulating the data, doing something with the data. Maybe identifying a correlation between 2 variables. Maybe talking about a line of best fit and what the correlation is between those 2 variables. Maybe you're calculating something like a percentage of something. Maybe a percentage change calculation you're doing. Maybe it's an average. That'll be great. Examiners love it when you're manipulating the data. You're working something out from the data given to you. But all of that could be your data reference. So data reference needs to be unique 3 times. Then how and why. That's what you're looking to do for your 3 analysis paragraphs. After each analysis paragraph, you need some nice simple evaluation. A few lines basically where you're showing that you understand the limitations of the data. Keep that simple. What kind of limitations of data exists? Well, maybe the time period used is very narrow. You need a longer period of time to come to that kind of a conclusion. Maybe the number of countries used is quite sparse. Really, you need a wider range of countries to come to that kind of conclusion. Maybe the source of the data, the source of the extracts can be questioned, whether it's bias, whether it's going to be favoring one side of an argument. Maybe you can question correlation and causation, right? You're looking at correlation, but only looking at one variable that's allowing something else to increase or decrease, when actually there could have been many other factors that could have had a part to play. Maybe the data is volatile, so it's hard to come to a certain conclusion, when actually the data is very up and down. Maybe it's nominal and real. Maybe the data you've got is nominal data, when actually real figures are going to be more useful to come to important conclusions. But just a few sentences showing limitations of the data after each analysis paragraph is necessary, and then you finish the 10 marker with a final judgment paragraph, just like you've done in your 25 markers in paper 1 and paper 2, the same kind of judgment in your 10 marker in paper 3. You want to start by answering the question. To what extent does the data suggest something? Give an answer, whether it backs it up, the data, or whether the data doesn't back up whatever the question is asking. Justify why you're saying that. Weigh up the most significant pieces of data that lead you to that judgment and say why, for you, they are the most significant pieces of data. And then try and balance your judgment by basically showing how you can't really answer that question with just the data they've given you. Normally, you need other pieces of data to make your judgment more holistic, given that you've considered everything in that regard. So maybe go into other pieces of data that would be really, really helpful to solidify that judgment. That could be good balance for you. And then you can move on to the 15. So really practice that 10 mark question really well. It's unique. Look at all the past paper questions that have come before, plan those out, use the mark schemes to see how easy the data references can be, and then you're ready for whatever the 10 marker is when paper 3 comes your way. Now to the 15 marker. Well, this will be exactly the same style as your paper 1 and paper 2 15 marker. The difference now, you're going to have extracts to guide you, and that's going to be so helpful. In terms of timing, again, you're looking at 20 minutes for this 15 marker. For the 10 marker just gone, you're looking at 20 minutes for that as well. That's quite a unique essay. You've seen there's quite a lot to do in that 10 marker. So 20 minutes there, 20 minutes for the 15 that follows. But your structure is exactly the same as what you did for paper 1 and paper 2. You want to define key terms at the start, and then you're looking for 2 or 3, depending on what you can do in 20 minutes, analysis paragraphs. Identify the key points, whatever you need to answer that question from the extracts. It will all be in there for you. So don't worry if you see the 15 marker and immediately you don't know how to answer it. Don't worry about that. AQA tend to do that on purpose so that you're forced to use the extract to drive the points to answer that question. You then add the deep economic theory to those points and write your answer accordingly. Always on 15 markers, you're thinking, could diagrams illustrate what I'm writing? In which case, draw them and just make sure you are directly using those extracts. And then you're absolutely fine. 20 minutes max, move on to the 25 marker. And now we finish with the 25 marker. And even though the wording of this 25 marker will say justify a recommendation, it's actually exactly the same style as your 25 markers in paper 1 and paper 2, and therefore you need the same structure. It's more like your section A, paper 1, paper 2, 25 marker, because this will be linked to extracts as well, but it's exactly the same style in terms of how you need to write it, in terms of the structure that you need to follow. So in terms of time management, you're looking at 40 minutes again. That means 40 minutes here, 20 minutes for the 15, 20 minutes for the 10, that's 1 hour, 20 minutes. If the multiple choice questions have only taken you 20 or 25 minutes, you've got a lot of time saved out of your 2 hours. Maybe for reading the extracts more, maybe for extra time on the 10 if you need it, extra time on the 25 at the end if you need it. You have that buffer time. That's the beauty of sticking to that time management I've given you. So you're thinking 40 minutes, yes, for the 25, but exactly the same structure as you followed in paper 1 and paper 2 for those 25 markers. The difference here is really the extracts are going to be great. Everything that you need, all the arguments that you need in analysis, in evaluation, even for your final judgment is going to be there in the extracts. Let the extracts drive those points and you add the deep theory to it. Make sure you're doing that. That's what the extracts are for this 25 marker. But also, what examiners expect on this 25 marker is micro and macro to be in there. There are no defined rules on how you need to do it. It's not like, oh, one analysis paragraph has to be micro and then another one has to be macro. It's not like that. No defined rules. Just make sure that you have micro and macro elements. So maybe, I don't know, you're writing a micro point. You might want to evaluate with some macro ideas. Fine. Maybe it's the vice versa. You've got a macro analysis point. You might want to evaluate with micro. Or maybe your 2 analysis points, one is micro, one is macro. Or maybe actually you're writing generally macro, but with some micro elements in some of those paragraphs. There are no defined rules on how to do it. Just make sure that there is macro and there is micro in the essay somewhere. And examiners will like you for it. To make sure you can do that, follow the advice I gave earlier in the video. Look at all the micro and macro topic areas and then make sure you're writing down micro and macro effects for those topic areas. I've helped you so much by making a video about key micro and macro topic areas. Get the topic areas from that video. And then for micro and macro effects, just follow all the videos I have in my revision for 2022 exams playlist. You'll see how I've done it. You just need to follow the same way, then your brain is ticking. Even for topic areas you think are more micro, you've got macro ideas and vice versa. Then you're ready to go. But don't stress too much. There aren't defined rules that examiners have, and you'll be absolutely fine as long as you can bring in micro and macro in that 25 marker. So that, guys, is everything you need. Advice to prepare well, and also the walkthrough of the exam so you know exactly what to expect when paper 3 comes your way. Take it all in, follow all the videos on the channel already, all the guidance given to you already in that regard. There's more to come as well. Stay tuned for that. Be hard on social media, follow me well there, and let's just make sure we can smash this final paper together, finish with a bang, finish with high confidence. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all in future videos.